Hi guys, it's Megan from imamom2.wordpress.com. So most people, I would imagine, have put together New Year's resolutions, and I'm not really a New Year's resolution kind of person. But what I have decided for 2015 is to actually work towards some goals. And one of my goals is our home. We've actually lived in this home now for almost 2.5 years. And so we've kind of gone through the annual cycle of all of the holidays and the seasons and all this kind of stuff. And it's now at the stage where I can actually say yes or no, we've used these items. I still have some boxes in the basement, for example, that I have not opened in the 2.5 years that we've been here. So you know what? It's time to start getting rid of all this stuff and only having in our home what we use, what we love, and what makes us happy. So with that, over Christmas holidays, I kind of went through and checked online to see if there was some way to kind of organize how to do it and how to attack it. Does that make any sense? And then I came across, it's from home-storage-solutions-101.com. I will link it below. It's 52 weeks to an organized home challenge for 2015. And basically every week you have one section of your house to attack. Depends on the area of the house. My basement is definitely an attack. Gotta say that. But various other places of the house really aren't. I'm very, very fortunate to have some friends actually who are very, very kind, and they've been in their homes for a while, so their homes are kind of done, but they recognize that I either need to schedule time to actually dedicate towards decluttering, or that frankly it's just much more fun with a girlfriend and either drinking some chai or sometimes some wine while we're attacking different parts of the house. So over Christmas break, I actually had the center post of our house made stronger. I can't think of the word right now. But with that meant that a lot of the boxes that were kind of around that had to be brought up to our dining room, which meant that I had to sort through them before I decided whether to put them actually back downstairs in the basement or to bless them to someone else's home. So it kind of got me started on the process, and this 52 weeks to an organized home challenge I think is going to really help me focus towards getting the rest of the house done. There are some things on here that I'll probably have to move around to different times of the year. Like one of them, like week 7, for example, is coupons. Well, trust me, I need to sort through my coupons. I'm a big couponer, and right now I have a stack of files, and anyway, that's going to have to happen before week 7. So I will link it below. Let me know if you want to join this as well. I don't think that, you know, if it's January 23rd, you have to start on that week. I think just kind of start wherever you wish. And this week's is actually focusing on the kitchen counters and sink. And I'm actually going to merge that to next week's challenge as well, being the kitchen cabinets and drawers, primarily because my kitchen counters and sink, a girlfriend of mine actually came over a few months ago now with her daughter for our daughters to have a play date, and the next thing I knew, we started decluttering my kitchen. I'm not sure how it happened. But basically, since then, my counters and sink, really, like, it's a 2-minute job to kind of get everything back to where it was. And, you know, primarily if my kitchen's a mess now, or the kitchen counters are a mess, it's because I haven't either unloaded the dishwasher or loaded it with dirty dishes. So that really wasn't anything. But I did need to do some rearranging within the cabinets as well. So I'm going to show you now the befores and the afters of working on the kitchen counters and also the kitchen cabinets and drawers. Okay, so here's a quick pan of my kitchen counters. I'm actually quite happy with them. They really don't get overly cluttered anymore. Since that girlfriend and I actually went through. There's our snowman fridge. We haven't taken that down yet. But really, there's not a lot of space in this kitchen, so if I don't keep it clear, there's nowhere to work. So just to kind of walk you through, I do have squeaky floors. I don't know if that's coming out on here. But you know, kitchen sink, pretty standard. The only thing with this, I love the Lysol disinfectant. I can't remember what it's called right now. I'll insert it below. These are fantastic. My kids love them. You just stick your hand underneath and you get the right amount of soap. The only thing is when you're working in the kitchen, you know, I put anything in the sink here and I'm moving stuff around and everything. Because it's on a motion sensor, it will actually, you know, bring out the soap while you're working. Not a good thing. So I actually have it turned off, and what you do on the back is a spot there to turn it on. So there is a little bit extra step to be able to wash your hands in the kitchen here, but it's either that or all the soap actually ends up on here and in this crevice and everything. So that's kind of one tip that I have for that. And then I'm just thawing out my son's lemonade for tonight because, you know, it's the middle of winter and freezing cold right now, but he still wants lemonade. This here is my compost bin, actually. I think there's stuff in it. Not that it matters, but yeah, there's compost. And then every night before bed, I take that outside and put it in the big green bin. This is pretty self-explanatory, but I do always seem to have to turn that around because it's pretty. Cutting boards, which I still need to figure out what to do and, you know, where to hang them and everything. So they kind of just end up right here because it's easy to access. My kettle is on my stove there. I'm actually making pizza right here. That's why it's counting down. I actually just changed to the plug-in kettle recently. I did have a stovetop one, and I probably had it for over 10 years anyway, but the bottom of it was rusting out and everything, so I couldn't use that anymore. My cup from my water from this morning, you know, paper towels, knives, microwave, some bottles of wine that I got over Christmas time that I haven't drank yet, obviously, they're right there. And I actually posted on one of the groups that I'm part of, where you can post items for free, or you can actually get items for free as well. The people basically are just decluttering out of their home. And I posted on there asking for a wine rack because I'd like it to go up above, on top of the cupboards there. And I picked one up this morning and it's too big for that space. So I have to thank her very much and then repost it because it's just too big. And then this is my junk drawer. If you've watched my other stuff, another video that I did where I was actually, you know, reorganizing this whole space before Christmas anyway, that basket now is my junk drawer. And it seems to be working, which is great. I will link that below so that you can take a look through that if you want. So there's my kitchen counters. I really didn't have to do much for this weekly challenge for it because they're kind of clear. And when they're not clear, it takes me only a couple minutes to actually go and clean them off. So, and here's the before shot of the cupboard that is above my sink. So I'm just going to pan up. This is kind of where all my mugs and my, you know, drinking stuff basically is. You know, I've got kind of a basket with teas and stuff in there, some travel mugs, some kind of miscellaneous stuff here, some hot chocolate here and here, doesn't make sense, some glasses. This bin here actually has, oh dear, I don't want to pull that out. See, this is why I have to clear this out. This bin has all the kind of the magic bullet lids and travel mug lids and all that kind of miscellaneous stuff, but at least it's contained in there. And then obviously all my mugs that I need to sort through, because I just had to take this one out to be able to pull out this basket. So there's the before shot of this cupboard. This is why you really need clean kitchen counters before you start taking everything. There's the shot of my now empty cupboard. But before you start taking everything out, you have to have clear counters, because this is now the chaos that is my kitchen just from that one cupboard. So now I'm going to sort through like for like and what I don't need anymore and therefore can donate to other families. Through my little basket of loose kind of teas and stuff, and thought, oh, look at that, I have two of the exact same ones, and I was just about to actually combine the two and then realized, nope, this one is actually dark chocolate chai, whereas this one is regular chai. And then look at this. I noticed that there's a not very full box of chocolate mint teas, but they're individually wrapped. So I think what I'm going to do is actually try to put them in this bin here that already has a dark chocolate chai, so that then I can at least get rid of this space in this great big fail, because these are not pushing down enough to be able to actually close this lid. So it's a good thought. However, what I am going to do then is just put these separately in this bin somehow here. So it was a good thought. I tried, but you always have to kind of think outside the box for this. Here is the after shot of the cabinet above my kitchen sink. So strangely, in our family, we have enough hot chocolate and marshmallows to actually be contained into 2 containers. And then up here is some cocoa, and then there's a couple extra travel mugs that I don't actually use very often. I'll see if I use them this winter, and if I don't, then they'll probably go for donation. On the second shelf here is a bin of lids. That hasn't changed at all other than the placement. And then kind of this section is all related to teas. You can't find any coffee in my house because I'm a tea drinker. And you would think that I actually drink these types of teas all the time, but I don't. They're just kind of the occasional whenever I feel like it type of teas. So in here is all kind of the boxes, and you can see through here the bins as well, filled with teas. Behind Mr. Honey here is a container where I've put all of the loose leaf teas and a tea strainer in there, just to kind of have them all in one spot. And in this bin here, it actually, yes, I've labeled it individual teas, but there are also some individual hot chocolates as well. But just all the individual packets that some teas come in, or if they're in these containers and they're individually wrapped, and you know I'm almost done with the container, then I can just put them in here. And then just some honey in front of it as well. And then on the shelf below it, I actually sorted through a lot of my mugs, so I have fewer mugs. I'm not sure if I'm going to get maybe a kind of little mini shelf or kind of a shelf to hang from here so that I don't have to stack these 4 mugs, but we'll see how it goes. And then my travel mugs that I use often, just right back in here. And of course the lid for this one is actually in this bin. And then just some glasses there as well. So there's the after. To the right of my sink is this kind of workspace here that's right above my dishwasher. And then if we go into the cupboards there, these cupboards actually aren't too bad. We use pretty much, excuse me, everything in here. I think the only thing is to actually find somewhere else for this measuring cup to go. It kind of gets moved all around the kitchen all the time. And then these set of bowls here, I'm pretty sure there's a couple of them in there I might not be able to use, or that I don't use. So I'll have to figure out what to get rid of, but this cupboard is actually not too bad. Just getting rid of, there were some blue bowls back here that really we didn't use very often. So just by getting rid of those and actually moving these larger plates, which we don't use very often. We tend to use these smaller plates for all of our meals. And just moving the larger ones up to the top shelf there and moving my baking bowls, I know I use the weird fish one, whatever, down to here, instead of me reaching all the way up to the top there, I think this works a little bit better. And here's just a little tip as well. My kids use these for snack bowls all the time. But the lids for these cups back here, the lid for this one is actually in the dishwasher at the moment. But just putting them into a little basket corrals them, makes them a little easier to find and keep organized as well. There is some blank space in behind these bowls, but then it means that I can actually pull these out without any problems. So I'm quite happy. I didn't really think that there was anything to move here, but clearly there is. And I actually decided to keep the measuring cup here because it's right beside my baking bowls. Above my stove is just a small little cabinet. I'm not even going to move anything from in here. Everything kind of works in there. If I need any more space, I can always get a tiered rack of some kind to move those up and have more space underneath to store stuff. This knife here is actually up here because it is the biggest knife that I have, and frankly I don't want the kids getting at it. These dishes here are kind of the special dishes that are used once, maybe twice a year, because they were my grandmother's dishes and she bought them at Eaton's very, very proudly back in the day, and they are actually the provincial flour for each province in Canada, so I really don't want them to get ruined. Someday I'll find the container that you're supposed to put, or I'll be able to buy a container that you're supposed to put those kind of dishes in to keep them even safer. But until now, they're safe up there. Everything kind of is happy above my stove there. So there's really not much for me to do in that. Of my stove is this little area here, and then there's the cabinets above it. The top two shelves are kind of a jumbled mess. But this one is okay, but let's see. This is the before shot, I guess, of these three shelves within this cabinet. And here is the after shot of this cabinet. What I decided to do was these containers here are actually ones that need to go back to different people's houses. They gave us, you know, cookies and stuff like that over Christmas. So I'm going to kind of keep that there as a reminder because I'm in this cabinet all the time to actually take those back, but then they're still out of the way because they're up really high. These are kind of some extra containers that we have that we don't use very often, and I may actually be able to donate them, but I'm going to leave them there for the moment and see if we actually do use them. On the second shelf, I've put the containers for, you know, basically leftovers in there. And I found space for my Magic Bullet cups. These are the ones that I use for my smoothie. And then these ones in the back here are actually the much smaller ones that can be used as well. I'm not sure if that's going to end up being the final spot because the lids for them are actually in the bins in the first cupboard that I went through, so we'll see what happens. Down here is where my kids' lunch stuff is, so I just have this other container with all the lids for their lunch containers. There's only a few of them here because the kids are at school right now and are using those containers. In the back here, this pink one is one that I use for my daughter's sandwiches when she asks for bigger sandwiches. So once this is actually filled up with all of their containers, it comes up to like here for it. So there's still quite a bit of space in there should I need it. But there is the final. Moving just to the right of that is the counter space in front of the microwave. And this, I'm embarrassed, okay? This is the horrible cabinet. So here we go. Oh my goodness, there's so much to work on in here, but this is the before shot here. I do actually have some bit of organization already happening, like in the back here. I don't even know if I can get through all this stuff. You can see that little piece of wood there. That's a Lazy Susan. With all of kind of the vinegars and oils and stuff like that I don't use every day. It's on the Lazy Susan, so it's easy to just move it and find those things. But these are the items that kind of almost every day we use. So I've got to figure out a better system for this because it just looks like a jumbled mess. But there you go. Here's the before of each of those shelves. Here's the after for this cabinet here. So just to take you shelf by shelf, if you recall, this cabinet or this shelf actually had so much stuff in it you couldn't actually see this Lazy Susan that was in there originally. But now you can actually see everything. There's space for it all to turn around. And then these items we actually use every day. The cinnamon is not on my spice rack because my daughter actually likes cinnamon on her apples that she takes to school every day that's cut up. And I actually put together their lunches right here. So the cinnamon is here. There's salt here. I always like to put these kind of things, although it's not a Lazy Susan, it's a lid for a container. And basically, like, it catches all the dribbles that go down on the maple syrup because, you know, we're Canadians, we eat a lot of stuff that has maple syrup. So it actually catches in here instead of going on the shelf itself. And if I need to, I can just turn this around. Although it's not as easy as a Lazy Susan, it still does the job. And same for some oil there as well. It always seems to be oily on the outside too. In the back here is the extra virgin olive oil, some different types of vinegars. And right in the back there are some two flavoring syrups that I was actually given at Christmas that I haven't used yet, but I'm looking forward to using them. And there is actually still quite a bit of space in the back there to put more stuff if needed, but I think for now this is pretty good. Up on my second shelf, I am actually a really big baker. I bake often. So yes, I actually now have a bin that is labeled everyday baking items. How crazy is that? And then this bin back here is extra baking items. And if I take this one out, there is still yet another bin in the back that's actually labeled baking chocolate and jello. And then there's some other baking items in the corner there. These baskets were already in here. I've just never actually sorted through them properly and made sure that they were actually categorized, and I had not labeled them. So at least now everything is labeled so it's easy to find everything. And then up on the top shelf, again, these were already there, just not labeled. The kids' medicine is in the basket on the left, and my medicine, like actual medicine, and then also various supplements that I take as well are in those. So I did not actually add anything new. I just kind of cleared it out and resorted some things into this cabinet. We're going to move into the other cupboard that is a bit of a disaster. So here we go. This is kind of the cupboard with just way too much stuff in it. I've organized and reorganized and this cupboard, and it's just kind of where all the food goes. So let's see what I can do. Other crazy cabinet. This is the after shot of all three shelves there. Interestingly, I did actually go through stuff, and there were a couple things that I can donate because they've just been in here for too long and we haven't eaten them, so somebody else could have them. I'm just going to move the peanut butter here. This bin was already in here, it just was not labeled. So basically when items get, or when boxes like this, for example, that have individual packets in them, get too many use. So like when this one has one or two left, it'll go into this bin. I just find it so much easier, and then it takes up much less space. And these are all kind of items on this shelf that my kids will access themselves. Up on the second shelf here, I've kind of done it as starches and tomatoes. So kind of, you know, anything to do with starch and pasta and anything that you can make there. Interestingly, this bin was actually originally in this, let's see, on this shelf. It was actually back in the corner there. So I was quite pleased to be able to add it to kind of the starches section of this shelf, and the bin was already in there. I just had to label it. Up on the top shelf here, I categorized everything into fruit snacks in that bin and canned fruit into that bin. Again, the bins were already there. They just needed to be labeled. I do have some overflow, as you can see here, because of couponing. Those were actually all free. So, you know, I'm slowly working through them. But anyway, I'm really happy with this. I'm hoping that this can kind of stay somewhat organized. I'm really actually not happy with the peanut butter right there, but I'll figure it out. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's the after. After going through all of my cabinets, at least my top row of cabinets, this is all the food that I'm going to be donating through Facebook groups that I'm part of. Here are all of the kitchen items that are now going for donation as well, after sorting through all of my cabinets. So all of that work in the kitchen took about an hour and a half, but it was not constant. What I did throughout the day was I actually had the TV on in the background, and basically I committed to myself that every time the commercial set came on, I would get up and do another section. So throughout the hour and a half or so, I would watch the show, and then I would go and work in the kitchen, and then I'd come back and watch the show, and then I'd work in the kitchen. Then I made myself some lunch, and then I'd go back to the show, and then so it was kind of this back and forth. I did it while the kids were at school, so I know some of you will have that luxury, others may not. But it just did make it a little bit easier on my standpoint, and also to not kind of go at it all at once and take everything out of all the cabinets at one time and then go, now what do I do? So just methodically going through each one and just kind of sorting through it all. And now I get to go and post all those items that I'm giving. So now that you've seen what I did in my kitchen, I will admit that's only part of my kitchen. I still have to go through kind of the lower level cabinets, but that will be in another video because it just was getting a bit too long. So subscribe down below and you'll be able to kind of keep up with my journey through this 52 weeks to an organized home challenge. So I will also keep updates on all my social media channels as well, so please subscribe to those as well. All the links are below, as well as the actual challenge itself. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.